Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Secret Base figure preview video. Before we begin, as always, I have to say a huge thank you to Ryan Kirkwood for going out in person and snapping these glorious high-res pictures. Show Ryan some love in the comments below, cause without him, this series quite literally wouldn't be possible. If you are looking to pre-order the new 2.0 Diecast Mark 6 in any of the various flavors, more on that in just a second. Link for toyswonderland.com is in the description below. They do have installment plans and a reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon and join button so you're notified as soon as a brand new Hot Toys review or figure preview video goes live on the channel. Okay, before we jump in, I want to discuss the state of Hot Toys as it stands for just a second. Now, Hot Toys recently have been doing a lot of reissues, and a lot of 2.0s and even some 3.0s. Unfortunately, for as many people as that has appealed to, just as many have been quite unhappy. Because, number one, they devalue people's existing collections. Number two, you can never really have the ultimate definitive version when, just around the corner, there's a new one. But the Mark 6 is insanely popular and a lot of people missed out the first time. So if you do have the other diecast suits and you've been sitting here waiting for a reissue, well, now's your chance, and it's not a reissue, it's a straight up 2.0. But if you do own the 1.0 like me, the question is, do you sell it and upgrade to this one? Fingers crossed we can get to the bottom of that question in this very video. You're in the right place, don't you touch that dial, don't go anywhere, sit down and enjoy. Now if you did miss out on the original one, luckily you pretty much get all the same stuff here. You've got the full array of hands, articulated fingers, repulsor blasting, and even the laser projectile hands. Plus the laser beams to plug into them. Now I personally have never really found a way to display those laser beams, but if you have the width, all the power to you, plug them in and away you go. You do also get all the little rocket pieces to snap onto his gauntlets when he pointed them at Loki and called him Reindeer Games. Gotta love Tony Stark's sense of humor. And these pieces, they look just as fiddly as the first time. I would have loved to have seen an entire swap out forearm you just plug on and away you go, just like the Mark 50. But with this one, they're teeny tiny individual panels, and those flaps, they are so freaking fragile. Plus the clips on the underside, yes, they're clips, not magnets, also a little bit fragile. You do get the dart projectors or little mini rocket pods that sit on his shoulders, they do attach with magnets. But like I said, the full array is here, I can't complain. It's not like they're any worse than the original, so keeping them at the same level gets a tick from me. Do let me know though, if you have the Mark 6 or you're planning on picking this guy up, will you ever display him with all these rockets on? I've been tempted to do that, but I love how sleek the Mark 6 is, so I always leave it completely clean, no battle damage at all. Oh, and the reason you're seeing a shoulder pad and some thigh armor here isn't because there's new battle damage pieces for those areas, as much as I would have liked that. It's because with the Gantry combo pack, you get some new additional panels. I don't really know what the best way is to describe them, you'll just have to wait and see when we pan up to the figure, but they're basically the endoskeleton, the understructure beneath all the armor plating for the Mark 6. Again, the best way I can describe it for now. You also get the same battle damage pieces, but really, Hot Toys, you could have done better. This battle damage is very soft. It was fine back in the day, but by today's standards, like I said, you could have done so much better. We've seen better battle damage from y'all. Deeper scratches, more wiring, more texture, more detail. This is just very smooth. Especially for the faceplate, that gash along the front just isn't doing it for me. I mean, the best word I can use to describe this is soft, and that's not an adjective you want to use to describe battle damage. It should be visceral. It should look like if you were to touch it, you would get tetanus, but this one definitely doesn't. Now, like I said earlier, there are 3 different versions. You can get the standard Mark 6 on its own, the suit-up Gantry on its own, or the full package with the Mark 6 and the Gantry together. If you have the original, no need to freak out, you can still get the Gantry and use it with the 1.0. Although I'm pretty sure you are going to be missing those endoskeleton pieces, which are coming up in just a second. Now, the finish here does look really similar to the original. I have the original sitting here in front of me on my desk as I'm filming this, and I can't spot a ton of differences. And that's fine. The original was painted really well. This one is too. That hot rod red, I cannot get enough. It's rich, it's deep, it's metallic, and on the surface, a little bit of wear and tear. It's not too much battle damage, it's just a passive surface detail to make the armor look a little bit more detailed. So in the movie, that's how the suits look so real. Because if they were 100% pristine and clean, you'd have the uncanny valley effect where something looks NQR. Not quite right. But when you do that extra passive surface detail, it kinda sells the illusion, makes it look more real. And this is what I was talking about earlier. You can swap out the armor panels for this kind of understructure. So when you have him in the gantry, it genuinely looks like the suit is being put together. This is so cool. I honestly don't know why it took Hot Toys so long to do something like this, because it adds so much more visual interest. There is so much more to look at here. We've got the little pistons, we've got silver paint, we've got the mesh sections, we've got some gold, and over the top of all of that, washes in the crevices. I mean, now I want to get this guy even more. I was already going to, you all know I was, but now I can have the 1.0 displayed completely suited up and this guy mid-transformation. I know it's a bit too late to add this now, but I would love to see this with the Mark III. I would love to see this with the Mark II, because he had to use a gantry to put those suits on as well. So if you have the Mark IV gantry, yeah, it will just make sense. That gantry is universal. It's pretty much the same one across all those suits. Now, I'm pretty curious to see, because the Mark IV is practically the exact same thing as the Mark VI, except for a couple of panels, a chest plate, and the paint job. Will these pieces be compatible with that Mark IV? Because if you did have him in his gantry, and you wanted to display the suit-up pieces on the Mark IV, like I said, curious to see if that's at all possible. Not a huge deal if it isn't, but something I'm just interested to find out. The chest plate also has a swap-out panel with that understructure. Still struggling to find a word to use to describe this thing, but that's the best thing I can come up with. It looks incredible. There is so much to look at here. You can see that there's the triangle around the arc reactor. The arc reactor is visible. There are multiple different layers here. It looks like multiple parts and panels that have come together to make up that understructure. But of course, it isn't. It's just one piece of plastic. You also have the swap out pieces for the shoulder pads, so they've gone relatively comprehensive. Usually with battle damage pieces, they don't. We just have a chest plate and a helmet with this guy, and the rest of him is completely clean, but I'm glad they did a complete overhaul top to bottom for the suit up mode. It does give this guy a proper raison d'etre, rather than just giving us the same thing again and just saying, there you go, take that, be happy with it, a reissue is what you get. Now, is this enough to properly call this a 2.0? I'm not sure, because you do get the same battle damage pieces, you get pretty much the same array of accessories, but the only new stuff comes with the gantry, or it's just relegated to being a head sculpt. Now, if you don't get the gantry, no, you don't get any of these panels. It's just the Mark VI and the array of accessories we got the first time. So if you are sitting there trying to decide whether or not you go for the gantry, I would suggest you do. The Mark VI is going to be a centerpiece popping in the middle of your Iron Man collection. It will draw the eye, especially with all that detail for the understructure. I love the paint applications, by the way, for the gold and gunmetal sections, with some speckling of dirt and grime on the surface. Also, this time for the gantry, rather than going with magnets, they've gone with mini arms that actually clamp the pieces of armor, which, to me, feels a little bit more authentic. Whereas with that first gantry with the Mark IV, you could only pretty much put those panels in one position. Whereas with this one, you can angle them, you can have it grip them in different ways, underneath, up above, entirely up to you. More options, always a good thing. Now, I did allude to this, but there's a brand new head sculpt here. And unfortunately, it's not all good. Now, there are certain things I really like about this head sculpt, a smirking Tony Stark head sculpt? I mean, it's been years since we had a smirking Tony sculpt. All the way back with the plastic Mark 7 from Avengers 1, and it was not very good compared to this one. This is leagues better. I dig the skin texture, the goatee looks good, the paint applications all get ticks from me. But unfortunately, there's something off here. There are either too many wrinkles, making him look too old for Avengers 1, or his eyes are too small or too far apart. I can't quite put my finger on it, but so far, I'm happy with the sculpt, but I'm not over the moon. If they make a couple of tweaks here and there, this sculpt could truly be incredible. We'll just have to wait and see. Once again, question goes to you. Let me know what you think of this sculpt down below. Alright, for a little bit of a focus on the Gantry itself, because you can buy it separately, so if you've skipped ahead to just see the Gantry, welcome to the video, my friend. The Gantry is USB powered, so you plug it in and away you go. I don't necessarily love having USB cables dangling out the back of my figures. I would rather plug them in, charge them up, and hit one button to turn all the lights on. Just my personal preference. But USB cables in your diorama bases, yeah, that makes sense, because you'd have them plugged in, it's around the back, you'd never see the cable. So having your LEDs turned on permanently, oh yes, I love the fact that they've gone with USB. And probably USB Type-C. Now this Gantry is a lot less restrictive compared to the first one, because with the Mark IV you literally could only have Tony in one pose, standing there, arms out, legs spread, in an A stance, with his helmet floating above his head. Whereas with this one, you can have him standing there, you can have him walking down the stairs up the top or closer to the bottom. There are so many more posing options, so this is straight up my favourite Gantry of the two. I love the annular ring with the various little arms coming off it, and the fact that, like I said earlier, you get all the understructure panels. You even get one for the back of the armour, which isn't something you'd normally ever see. Plus, it's detailed both sides, even on the underside, because it needs to be. If the Gantry is holding these pieces of armour, and they're around the back, then you're going to see the underside as well. So I'm super glad that Hot Toys took that into account. They detailed everything. Also, we've got an exploded Mark 6 helmet, one that can genuinely look like it's about to fit over Tony's head. Whereas with the original Gantry, I know, I keep comparing it to the original, but it's the only other Gantry we have from Hot Toys. That one literally just had you put the full helmet on the back floating above his noggin. Whereas this one has panels and hinges, you can open it up, and it's even detailed and painted on the inside. You all know, it's the small things like that that make me so very happy. I'm pretty curious to see how this attaches to that arm, though I'm fairly certain there is a magnet around the back just to hold it a little bit more securely in position. Alright, we are nearing the end of the video, so let's circle back to that question I left at the start of the video, which was, if you have the 1.0, do you sell up and get this new one? Well, as always, the choice is yours, but I reckon there are a couple of things to factor in. First off, do you like this head sculpt? If the answer is no, no. Keep your original, you're set. You've got the Mark 6, no problem. If you don't have space for the Gantry, also, no, I don't think this suit is just worth picking up if you don't have space for the Gantry and you have the original. If you don't have the 1.0 though, and you don't have space, of course, get the suit itself, well worth picking up. But my preference is all out Ultimate Package, Gantry, Mark 6, and all those understructure pieces, because that, to me, genuinely makes this guy worth it. It makes it a proper 2.0 rather than a reissue. So hopefully that all helped if you're sitting here racking your brain thinking, damn, do I need to sell my original to get this one? Well, the answer, as always, is kinda yes and no. For me though, I'm so happy. This thing looks like a straight-up Iron Man centerpiece for your Avengers 1 display. I mean, that opening to Avengers 1 where Tony's underwater in the Mark 6, he flies up onto Stark Tower, the suit comes off. Yeah, badass as hell. Plus, if you do have the original and you still want this, good news, you can pop the original in your Iron Man 2 collection, have him battling Whiplash with the newly reissued War Machine Mark 1. And this guy can go in the Avengers 1 collection, you know, a different shelf entirely. Now, if you are looking to grab this, I pre-ordered mine with toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They do have installment plans and a reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.